To Pauline Hanson, a key member of the Senate. Thank you for your time this morning.
My pleasure, thank you.
Now, what do you make of this debate about drug testing for welfare recipients? Jackie Lambie's obviously making her feelings pretty clear in the last day, but what do you make of it?
Look, I think it's worthwhile to give it a try. People know. I travel Australia constantly all the time. People are hooked on drugs, especially in rural and regional areas, and don't forget about the cities, but it's destroying communities. We need to do something because it's out of hand. We've got that many drugs coming to Australia. This is a dumping point for drugs in Australia. And I think that families, it's not only just the drug user, but it's families. They're crying out for some sort of help to try and deal with the issue because it's impacting on families, it's impacting on people, whether they'll ever work, what sort of life they're going to have. And I think that we need to do something about it. And if this is going to give some sort of help to these people, or actually, you know, you're on drugs, you're going to have to get some counselling, you're going to have to get some education to try and clean up your act. And why should the taxpayer, you know, their hard-earned dollars are going to give them a welfare payment and they're on drugs?
Look, the National Audit Office has done a review of these trials and said at best they're ineffective and at worst they're quite stigmatising for people. Do you agree that it might just be an ineffective way to do it, even if the principle's there?
No, you know, sometimes there's got to be tough love if you're going to make a difference. And I remember a group of Aboriginal women years ago in 1998 who came to see me and they said, you know, no one's dealing with the real issues. They said our kids were on petrol sniffing and you know, the problems that they had, but they wouldn't do anything about it. So sometimes it takes tough love to make a change in our society. You know, I hear this pill testing. Go to venues, let's pill test. And then you're actually worrying about these people, should they be taking these drugs, and we've got to make sure it's safe for them. What sort of message are you putting out there to our society? One minute you're saying it's okay to take the pills, we're going to test it for you, make sure you're safe. What happens the rest of the time? You know, you can't have it both ways. You clean up your act and you actually try and get people off the drugs. You don't need to take drugs in your life, and that's what the educational process should start in our schools and tell the kids you don't need to take drugs. You know,
well, I certainly know when I was at school it was a pretty strong message, but from Jackie Lambie's perspective, she has real-life experience with someone in her family being addicted to ice, and it's quite insidious.
She should be the first one then to say, yes, I want it because I want my child off drugs. So what's the issue here?
Well, the issue, she says, is that there's not enough funding for those support services to realistically get people off drugs. It's not that easy to just say go cold turkey.
So the fact is, because there's not enough funding there, and that's what she's saying is, because there's not enough funding, we won't do it at all. That's a pretty weak reason for saying not doing the testing. The thing is that if people actually, they're going to pick out about 5,000 people to actually do the drug test. Now, if they come back positive, they're not going to lose their welfare payments. They're going to be given, you know, an opportunity to get 28 days, go for a second test. Then if they are found to be, again, on drugs 28 days later, then they're given reasons not off their money. They don't lose their welfare payment. If they refuse to do the drug test, then they lose it for 4 weeks. But then again, if they are, the second time around, are drug positive, then it's counselling, or it could be, you know, other methods to try and get them off the drugs. Education, so then they'll deal with it, and the type of drug that they're on. Ice actually fries your brain.
I don't think anyone's arguing with you there, no.
But can you understand? Parents don't know that the kids are taking this. What do you want to do about it? You know, just turning in blind eye and say we don't have the money to do it. Give the government an opportunity, give the people a chance to actually... It's a trial. It's a trial for 2 years. What is wrong with that? Why hit something on the head that could be very positive? And you may even save one person's life out there.
If we can turn to another topic you're quite passionate about, you're pushing for family law reform. In particular, I've read the speech you're going to give, and it's quite interesting to see that you want a regulated 50-50 child support. How do you realistically do that when family situations are often so messy? There's often different emphasis on who does what. Often most of the child rearing actually falls on the women.
Oh, don't say that. You can't say that.
You don't think that's a fact?
No, because society's changed and a lot of men want a part in raising their children's lives. And when we have a society now that's changed so much, Yes, women will say that, and I'm a mother of 4, and I know the responsibility came down to me, not my husband. But we're looking at 30 or 40 years on from then, and men take an active part in the child's lives. And men are, you know, where I hear a lot of the time, they're getting a raw deal because these men are losing their kids and don't have and courts are ruling that they can't even see their children at all.
But aren't courts really well placed to assess that? They get access to all of that information.
I'm sorry, no, they don't. No, totally wrong. And 50-50 is actually in legislation, but it's at the discretion of the judge.
Who has access to things like reports from social workers, speaking to the children?
Can I tell you that some of those reports from social workers are only done on being an hour with that person, and they don't interview them with the child there with them, so they don't see the connection. Wouldn't it be nice to say that if parents the day before separation can rear the kids together, the next day when they actually separate, then a parent doesn't see their child for months. Do you know how heart-wrenching that is to parents? So why shouldn't they sit down, instead of dragging it through the courts, which costs, most cases, $100,000, that they don't have the opportunity to see their kids, then the custodial parent brings in contravening orders, or they use whatever means they can, lies, to actually DVOs, to actually stop them from seeing the children because of spitefulness. And if you actually have 50-50 from day of separation, that they have to sit down, come to some agreement. You know, I can't look after the kids through this week because I've got to work. So come to some agreement between yourselves what is best for the children. Because courts, when you have to wait months, even years, to get a hearing in the courts, and then wait for the judge's decision to come down, why do you think there's about 3 men suiciding a day and 1 woman being murdered a week? Because the system is wrong and it needs a complete overhaul, and what we need to bring in is what is fair and just. I'm going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing this until we have a joint House-Senate inquiry into this, you know, joint House inquiry into it, to actually give the people of Australia, it doesn't matter where, every state, I want to take this to every state, I want to take it to every capital city, I want to take it to rural and regional areas, so they give the people of Australia an opportunity to speak about this. But not only family law, child support. That is another thing that I will be pushing to get changes there, to give people back some, you know, reason in life, and it's all about the children as well. They have a right to see both parents.
When it comes to the federal ICAC, passed through the Senate yesterday, but you abstained. Why didn't you vote for or against it?
It has its fors and against with it, with the federal ICAC, and I think we do need it. But on the one that they have there, it is not going to. It is not going to work.
Why is that?
Look, I just think it's what they're saying is that anyone can go and arrest another person without law enforcement. This has been before the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee. They actually question a lot of it in that. There was quite a few items, 12, 13, 14, actually were important to me that I just don't think it's workable. I think it was a stunt by the Greens that they are pushing this. They know it's not going to get through. It won't get through in the lower house. If you're going to put something before the Parliament to be passed, make sure that it's going to be workable. This was not workable. I want to see an ICAC, but not the way they drafted it up. They knew it was a stunt.
So if Labor puts forward a draft for ICAC to originate in the Senate, you'd support it?
Yeah, look, I do believe we need it, but you can't have anyone in society other than law enforcement to go and just take someone and force them before this. Look, I can't think off the top of my head what it was, but especially those items 12, 13, 14 that were in that report from the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee, I think it had grounds, and that's why I wouldn't support it. In one way, I do support it, and the other side, I don't. So that's why I abstained from voting. It's not right.
And just finally, the ABC is reporting about concerns about Gladys Liu, Victorian MP, and her links to Chinese organisations. What action would you like the Liberal Party to take?
It is a grave concern with it, like Sam Dastyari, he's connections with it, and we've had other members of Parliament connections with the Chinese government and the, backhand deals or brown paper bags that they actually hand over. As members of Parliament, we should be above any corruption, and we should actually make our decisions based on the merits of it and what's right for this country and the people. And this is why I believe that we need an ICAC, because there's no real area that we can actually take these politicians who have done the wrong thing and ensure that they have to face the full wrath of the law. and that's why I totally support it. But yes, we do. People want it. They want some justice system against the politicians and the ones that do the wrong by the people, and especially in the positions that they hold.
Pauline Hanson, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.